Hey, Roger Martin here from Billings, Montana. So many important things were said in this interview with his Dr. Janda that I just want to make note of it. He says here that the deep state is on its heels. I think it's been taken back a little bit, but what's interesting is what really happened at the funeral and what's really going on here. They probably weren't subpoenas. I was hoping there would be subpoenas, but they're probably notes just telling him that the deal's up with Mike Pence, that he's been a mole and an insider and has a strong connection with the Bush. Didn't know that. Let's go on here.
I believe it actually is on its heels because of the election of Donald Trump and the fact that he's been able to bring some of these, if you will, patriots, these freedom patriots, up to the surface, if you will, to positions of power where they can try to implement change. And this is what's been so frustrating, because what Donald Trump and it's beyond one man, Sean, and this group of patriots, whether in their Defense Department or the intelligence.
All right, so they're on their heels, but it's not over for sure. And this is only a mid-level group. The Clintons and the Bushes and Obama, they're only a mid-level group, which is something I always suspected or was concerned about. So we're not getting to the highest levels of this yet, but it's a start in the right direction, make no doubt about it. And the Lord's hand is in this. You're seeing who's going to play for these elites and who's going to fight against them. So there's a great division and civil war going on currently in all areas of the government. Good and bad guys are going after one another full bore.
Or Health and Human Services, or throughout throughout the government, these people are battling many decades worth of the swamp, if you will, building its layers. So just look at the declassification issue. I believe the declassification issue is key for this whole ball of wax melting of the deep state.
So again, will the records come out? President Trump has the power and authority to declassify them, but will he be able to get that information out even after he declassifies it? It doesn't look like it's moving very quickly. The only source of some quicker information may be through the intelligence areas of the military. But again, there's still a great deal of problems with all of this.
If you're over 40 years old and you want to quickly lose
catastrophe to happen before acting.
This is Brennan, and he's another paid off butthead. But this shows that the Clintons, the Obamas, Brennan, other insiders are going crazy because they know that their time has come if Trump continues to have his inroads and success in calling these people on the carpet.
And her reaction, Hillary's reaction when she looked at that note was not one of, oh, isn't that nice? And then, but I didn't see Pence get an envelope. I didn't see, I mean, I did later, the Pence family or the Bidens, or I had just seen Hillary because I was wanting, boom, it fell out. And of course, Jimmy Carter being bummed he didn't get one. But then when the Trumps walked in, it's very interesting. Hillary, I mean, it was like a teacher walking into a schoolroom and all the kids got caught red-handed doing something, right? The whole first row, they all just shut up, right? And they all just started kind of looking down, and Hillary, stone-faced, and
let me interject here, because I just want to say something about Trump and his backbone, his steely reserve. Yeah, we saw what he said to Hillary during that famous debate in which he said, because you'd be in jail.
Yes.
A man has a steely reserve and, frankly, courage of his resolve, because he went out of his way not to shake the hands of Bill and Hillary. Mm-hmm. Just as when Madame Merkel was in the Oval Office, he did not shake her hand.
Now, notice also that his wife, Trump's wife, Ivana, did, but he didn't. Now, these probably weren't subpoenas according to the insiders, but they were notes saying the gig is up. Pence You know about his inside connection with Bush's, and you guys, your days are
in it, and he said, "I'm sorry, you've lost everything. You're bankrupt." I mean, that was the look the man gave. And then right after that, George Bush bows his head, almost looking like he was filled with shame or guilt.
Right. If you'd like, I can tell you what I was told.
Yes, of course.
By folks that I trust and have known for years that actually were the same people that told me to watch the funeral the day before.
So he wasn't going to watch the funeral. He knew how corrupt the Bush senior was, the grandfather, great-grandfather. You know, these guys were criminals. But he was told to watch this, and he didn't want to. But he did watch it. But there was a lot more going on than what we see. And supposedly a lot of this has been taken off YouTube. I'm going to have to go look. That's another question I have. Has it been taken off?
So after all this happens, and I live caught Jeb's reaction. Whoa. And I got on the phone and started calling some folks. Now, it took a while for them to call me back, but they got back in touch with me. And I said, so I took your advice, even though I didn't quite realize why. But there's some things I saw. Well, tell us what you saw. And I told them about Hillary's envelope, and they said, well, she wasn't the only one. And this was, within hours of this happening. And then as the days went on, we saw the Pences got one, the Bidens got one. I was also told a number of other people in that cathedral sitting further back also got envelopes. Not everybody, but certain few also did. And what I was told was in those envelopes on that side, not the Bush family, but on over to those folks that we've kind of identified, the Pences, the Bidens, the Hillarys, the Obamas, was essentially a list of coming attractions.
Now, a list of coming attractions. So they're being warned that Trump is after him and some things are going to start rolling. So this has been a big game plan with Flynn as a key player, with Trump, with the military, with government insiders that are fighting these elite groups. But you're seeing a great division of who Trump can trust, who's working on whose side, and who is working against him. This is why he's terminating people and choosing his players. What amazing stuff. Now we're seeing a little bit of what's coming on with the judicial system. They are also divided.
George H.W. Bush, Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, the people with the power to get the Pentagon to stand down that morning and allow those planes to go unfettered all across the country. I don't know that George W. Bush played much of a role, if any, in what went down on 9/11. Now, certainly he was involved in the cover-up,
right.
But
now they're talking about Bush Jr. involved in the 9/11 cover-up. But I think he was a patsy. And I think that the big news with them is that they said Bush Jr. is starting to be a little bit of a white hat and starting to turn some of this information over. Because he knows what's coming. Can he play ball one way or another? But sentences, judicial things, criminal actions going to start taking place. And so you're saying who's going to play ball and who isn't.
In the event itself, which I think President Trump knows very well was a false flag operation and not at all what we've been told officially, I don't know that George W. Bush had much of anything to do with that event.
And I would agree with you, but also disagree a bit. When he was reading that story, when Andrew Card came in and...
Now, what hasn't been told here is his nephew, Bush's nephew, had all the security. They drilled in those towers for 3 years. They planted all those explosives. That was all an inside military job. That's another video, another story. Let's get on with this.
Because they know they no longer have the witch in the White House. They don't have the power to stack the deck any longer. How much power do the White Hats have?
So we're talking about White Hats here, and they're knowing that they don't have the total control of the president, and the deck isn't totally stacked anymore. So they're concerned. These elite group, they're concerned of what's going on for sure. But you're going to see some people starting to play and turn in evidence against them to get leniency, and you're going to see others dig in and fight harder against Trump. So you're seeing a great civil war unfold here inside the United States government, from the military to all the way through. Some of the great news is we found out there's a tremendous bulldog lawyer going on with this reporter, and they're going after Mueller. Let's see if I can get that information out.
Can you explain that and flush that out? And why would that even bother Mueller a bit? The man's got nothing to hide, does he?
Well, I think he has a whole lot to hide, and it starts with Uranium One.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Sean. Jerome Corsi, I've had him actually on my radio show, Operation Freedom, a couple of times, and I was actually a big fan of his for years. Then about a year ago.
Now, this Corsi, who's going after Mueller and this lawyer that he picked, this is a very interesting story because this reporter kind of softened and turned to the elite side, and then things happened and he turned back against them. So this is happening all over the government. You're going to have to pick sides, and there's going to be no middle ground anymore.
He started to say some things where, frankly, I started to question his loyalty to the freedom movement.
Yeah, me too.
And then he got hit with this subpoena for Mueller, and I think spent 40 hours under interrogation with Mueller's people. And he came out, and around Thanksgiving, it was, hey, I'm gonna plea, and and then all of a sudden, he turned around. It was like over the weekend of Thanksgiving, and came out and said, you know what, heck with that. I'm going to press charges because here is what one of Mueller's team members told me to do. They wanted me to lie, and they, as you mentioned, suborn perjury. They wanted me to lie so that I could implicate the president. And and what kicked me off that, hey, wait a minute, it seems like, well, you were questioning where, of course, he was going there for a while, like a year ago, about the freedom movement, but Corsi made a move over Thanksgiving weekend where he hired Larry Klayman. Now, my experience with Larry Klayman, I've had him on the show.
Now, this is this bulldog lawyer that I didn't know about. This guy knows Larry Klayman, this bulldog lawyer. And this is why this is important.
Show a number of times. My experience with Larry Klayman, and he is a bulldog, and he is fearless, and he despises the deep state, and the deep state just despises him. I have seen him take positions. I know for a fact he helped someone I know very well who was being illegally surveilled by the National Security Agency. Larry, when no one would help this person, Larry stepped in, helped that person, and won the verdict against the NSA in favor of this American citizen. So Larry's tough. And for Larry to take the case tells me he felt that Jerome Corsi not only had a case, but Jerome Corsi was playing on the freedom side of the equation. And Larry Klayman and Jerry Corsi have filed a $350 million lawsuit against Mueller and his team.
$350 million lawsuit against Mueller and his team. I'm going to end it here, but these are powerful players, and you're seeing a great division in the government, legally, morally, and otherwise. People are going to be spilling their guts. Other people are going to be fighting on one side or the other, but there's no middle ground anymore. And Trump is bringing all this to a head with the help of people in the government, in the military, and elsewhere. Again, this is Roger Martin from Village, Montana. Please watch this and listen very carefully. This is important stuff.